Imagine walking through a storm, calm, composed, unshaken, while everything around you is in chaos. What if I told you that this isn't about being emotionless, but about mastering your response? In a world that never stops moving, the one who masters stillness becomes the strongest. Not because they move faster than others, not because they make more noise, but because they understand when not to move, and when silence speaks louder than words. Many mistake stillness for weakness or detachment. They think if you're not reacting, you must not care, but the truth is far deeper. Stillness is a state of conscious choice. It's the ability to remain grounded when everything around you begs for chaos. It's standing in the eye of the storm, unaffected, while the winds of anger, fear, and judgment whirl around you. That is not emptiness. That is inner power. To be still does not mean to be numb. You still feel. You still think, but you're not controlled by those thoughts or emotions. Instead of being swept away by them, you contain them, and in that containment there is enormous energy, like a dam that holds back a mighty river not to suppress it, but to redirect its power. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not shutting off your feelings. You are filtering them through wisdom, through discipline, through deliberate restraint. That's what separates those who survive from those who lead. Think of martial artists in the middle of combat. The greatest among them are not the ones who swing wildly, nor those who flinch at every movement. It's the quiet, composed warrior who waits, watches, anticipates. He acts with precision, not panic. Stillness is his shield. Awareness is his weapon. This kind of control doesn't happen overnight. It's trained, it's sharpened, and it's built by understanding that reacting to everything only scatters your energy. True power lies in focusing it like a laser, controlled, deliberate, and calm. People often believe that silence in the face of confrontation is weakness, that not showing anger is a sign you've surrendered. But on the contrary, nothing is more intimidating than someone who remains unshaken. When you raise your voice, they lower theirs. When you provoke, they smile. When you attack, they absorb. This confuses the aggressive mind, because it's expecting a mirror, it's expecting reaction. But when it meets stillness instead, it's disarmed. That's the true power of appearing unaffected. You gain control over the situation without even raising a hand. Stillness is also awareness. It's listening when others talk over each other. It's watching carefully when others are distracted. In stillness, you see more, you hear more, you understand more. The chaos that distracts most people becomes clear to you. Why? Because your mind isn't pulled in 10 directions. You're not constantly responding to every emotional jab or mental trigger. You're steady. You're focused. That focus becomes your edge in everything you do, from relationships to decisions, from strategy to spirituality. Stillness sharpens perception, and perception fuels wisdom. In stillness, you find yourself. You peel back the layers of noise that the world has thrown on you. You stop playing the roles others expect you to play. You return to your center, and from that center you operate with authenticity, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you've realized you don't need to. Acting as if nothing bothers you isn't about performance. It's about presence. It's about owning your space, your breath, your reaction, without apology, without justification. In that state, nothing feels missing, nothing feels urgent, everything feels aligned. That is stillness, that is not emptiness, that is power. There's a fundamental shift that must occur if you ever wish to master your inner world. That shift is this: you are not your thoughts, you are the one who sees them. You are not your emotions, you are the one who feels them, yes, but you are also the one who notices that you feel, and that awareness, that observer, is where your true self lives. Most people live unconsciously, constantly caught in a web of thoughts and feelings, reacting to each one as if it defines them. But when you begin to observe without attaching, everything starts to change. Imagine sitting at the edge of a river, watching the water flow. Thoughts are like leaves floating downstream. Some are beautiful, some are painful, some remind you of the past, others provoke fear about the future. But none of those leaves are you. You're the one sitting on the bank watching. Yet, what most people do is dive into the river, grabbing one thought, clinging to another, drowning in emotion, and then wondering why they feel overwhelmed. Learning to act as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means you've taken your seat as the observer. You're no longer inside the current. You're watching it move. Every time you identify with a negative thought, I'm not good enough, they're against me, I'll never succeed, you give that thought power. You wear it like a name tag. But when you step back and say, I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough, something incredible happens. You create space. And in that space, the thought loses its grip. It's no longer a label. It's just a passing cloud. This is the practice, not to fight your thoughts, not to silence them, but to see them clearly without being owned by them. You become the watcher, and the watcher is always free. This is why stillness and observation go hand in hand, because when you observe, you don't feed the fire, you let it burn out on its own. A person who reacts to every flame will always live in smoke. But the one who sits quietly and watches, they begin to see patterns, triggers, habits. You start to notice, when someone criticizes me, I get defensive, or every time I feel rejected, I lash out. With that awareness comes choice. And with choice comes freedom. You no longer have to act a certain way. You can pause. You can choose differently, but make no mistake. This is not detachment in the cold, lifeless sense. It is not suppression. It is the opposite. It is a deep intimacy with your own mind, a curiosity, a gentleness, like watching a child throw a tantrum. You don't become the tantrum. You don't shame the child. You simply witness and wait and respond when the moment is right. Your mind, in many ways, is no different. The thoughts will scream, the emotions will roar, but if you can sit, just sit, and watch, you'll realize you don't have to jump every time your mind says jump. There is immense strength in being the observer. You stop reacting to every comment, every insult, every wave of fear or insecurity. You carry yourself differently, not because you're unaffected, but because you've become deeply aware, and awareness leads to mastery. The world is filled with people stuck inside their own thoughts, imprisoned by narratives they never questioned. But you can step out of the cell. You can sit in that sacred space of observation and say, yes, I see this thought, I feel this emotion, but I choose how to respond. That is the difference between living unconsciously and living in control. Reacting requires no discipline, no clarity, no awareness. A reaction is instant. It's emotional. It's impulsive. It's what the untrained mind does when it's poked, provoked, or pressed. Like a match to dry grass, it ignites without thinking, and most people live like that, constantly burning, constantly flaring up, saying things they later regret, doing things they wish they hadn't. Why? Because they're reacting, not responding. There's no space between the trigger and the behavior. But if you want to master yourself, you must understand. Reacting is the default. Responding is the discipline. There is a subtle but powerful difference between the two. A reaction is unconscious. It's raw. It comes from habit, from conditioning, from the part of your mind that's ruled by fear and ego. A response, however, is conscious. It's measured. It's thoughtful. It's the result of a pause, a moment of awareness where you choose your next move rather than letting your emotions choose for you. This pause is everything. It's the difference between chaos and control, between peace and regret. Learning to act as if nothing bothers you is not about suppressing how you feel, it's about inserting that sacred pause and using it wisely. Imagine someone insults you. The reactive mind wants to strike back immediately, defend, retaliate, prove them wrong. But the responsive mind takes a breath. It sees the insult for what it is, just words filled with someone else's pain, frustration, or ignorance, and instead of attacking back, it chooses silence or a calm reply. Or perhaps no reply at all. That choice, that restraint, that control, that is strength, because it means you're no longer being controlled by someone else's energy. You're not matching chaos with chaos. You're rising above it. You're leading with awareness, not emotion. This level of response isn't born out of weakness. It's forged in self-mastery. To respond instead of react, you must know yourself. You must know your patterns. You must recognize what triggers you and why. You must do the inner work to calm the storm inside you so that the storms outside you no longer shake you. Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you're breaking a cycle. You're rewriting your story. You're saying, I don't need to be dragged into every emotional battlefield. I can walk away without scars. That's not indifference, that's power. Let's go deeper. Reaction is survival mode. It comes from the limbic brain, the ancient part of us built to deal with threats. But today, the threats are no longer tigers and warfare. They're criticism, judgment, rejection. When someone cuts us off in traffic, when a friend disappoints us, when a stranger says something rude, our brain fires off the same stress response. But unlike animals, we have a higher mind, a thinking mind, a choosing mind, and learning to act as if nothing bothers you is about training that higher mind to take the wheel. It's about choosing presence over panic, poise over pettiness. Here's a truth most won't tell you. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment needs a comeback. Not every insult needs a fight. Reaction spreads fire. Response pours water. When you react to negativity with more negativity, you feed it. You give it life. But when you respond with calm, or with nothing at all, you starve it. It fades, it loses power, and you gain yours. In this way, the most composed people are not passive. They are deliberate. They don't let emotion dictate their behavior. They observe, they decide, they act. Not out of impulse, but out of intention. Your energy is your essence. It's your focus, your peace, your clarity, your presence. And yet, how many people give it away so easily? They argue with strangers online. They carry resentment from yesterday into today. They let a comment ruin their mood for hours. They let someone else's chaos dictate their own peace. But here's the truth. Not everything deserves your energy. The more you protect it, the stronger you become. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not playing a role. You're safeguarding your most valuable asset. Imagine this. Every time you react in anger, every time you explain yourself to someone who has already judged you, every time you absorb someone's negativity, you're making a withdrawal, not from your bank account, but from your internal balance. And just like money, if you keep spending without saving, one day you wake up emotionally bankrupt, tired, bitter, anxious. You wonder why you feel drained all the time, why everything feels heavy. The answer is simple. You've left your emotional vault wide open, and anything and anyone has had access. Now, think of your energy as something precious, like gold. You don't throw gold at everyone who walks by. You don't toss it at insults, complaints, or distractions. You store it, you invest it, you protect it. You give it only to what builds you, not what breaks you. And this doesn't mean you walk around with a hardened heart. It means you walk with discernment. You don't react to every bark. You don't chase every shadow. You conserve your inner fire so that you can burn brighter where it truly matters. Learning to act as if nothing bothers you isn't about pretending. It's about choosing what to engage with, choosing when to walk away, choosing who deserves your peace and who doesn't. It's about realizing that just because someone invites you into drama doesn't mean you have to attend. Just because someone pushes your buttons doesn't mean you have to press back. Your energy is sacred, and when you start treating it that way, you'll notice something powerful. People will start respecting it too. There is great power in disengaging, in smiling when others expect you to snap, in walking away when pride wants you to fight, in remaining calm when everything around you begs for chaos. Why? Because you're no longer giving your energy away to things beneath your spirit. You're not being controlled by provocation. You're anchored, grounded, unshaken, and ironically, when you act as if nothing bothers you, people are more drawn to you because they sense peace, they sense discipline. They sense strength that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Let's be clear, protecting your energy doesn't mean you ignore the world. It means you choose where to place your attention. You set boundaries, not to keep people out, but to keep your sanity in. You say no without guilt. You leave conversations that drain you. You step back from situations that no longer serve your growth, not because you're cold, but because you've learned that anything that costs your peace is too expensive. The longer you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You start to see energy vampires for what they are. You stop leaking your power, and that's when something shifts. You start to live with more intention, more focus, more presence, because you're no longer running on fumes. You're no longer being pulled into every storm that passes by. You're rooted in your own stillness. You've realized that the strongest trees don't chase the wind. They withstand it. They protect what's within, and so must you, because in the end, your energy determines the quality of your life. And when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, what you're really doing is choosing peace over noise, power over reaction, and purpose over distraction. The world, as chaotic as it often appears, is a mirror. It reflects not what you see, but what you bring. And when you begin to see life this way, everything changes. The anger you meet often echoes the anger within. The noise you encounter mirrors your internal disarray. But the same is true in reverse. When you show up with peace, calmness, and dignity, the world begins to reflect that back to you. Learning to act as if nothing bothers you is not just about inner strength. It's also about the kind of energy you radiate outward, because what you radiate, you receive. Most people move through the world like it's a battleground, ready to defend, ready to argue, ready to fight. And so, naturally, life meets them with resistance. But grace, on the other hand, disarms conflict. It softens tension. It de-escalates emotion. When you respond to fire with fire, you burn the bridge. But when you respond with stillness, with understanding, even with silence, you give the other person a chance to reflect, to pause, to see themselves in your calmness. Grace doesn't mean you accept poor behavior. It means you rise above it. You don't match their energy. You elevate it. There's an old saying, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out is what's inside. Life will squeeze you. People will test your patience. Situations will push your limits, but what comes out, rage or restraint, panic or peace, is up to you. And whatever you pour into the world will return. That's the nature of the mirror. If you walk into a room with warmth, most will reflect that warmth back. If you walk in guarded, defensive, or cold, you'll find the same energy waiting for you. This is not spiritual fluff, it's practical truth. The energy you lead with shapes the energy you live with. So what does it mean to reflect grace? It means choosing kindness when cruelty would be easier. It means pausing to understand when judgment rushes in. It means meeting adversity with still eyes and a steady tone. But more than anything, it means seeing people beyond their pain. Every outburst, every insult, every act of rudeness often stems from something unseen, a wound, a fear, a past experience. When you stop taking everything personally, you gain the ability to respond with compassion. Not for their sake, but for your own peace, because when you carry grace, you protect your energy while transforming theirs. It takes strength to be kind in a world that tests you. It takes maturity to respond gently when others try to provoke you. But the result is extraordinary. You walk lighter, you sleep better, you stop rehearsing arguments in your head, you stop replaying who said what, you stop being caught in the whirlwind of emotional entanglement. Why? Because you chose grace. You reflected something higher, and in doing so, you elevated not just your own state, but potentially someone else's too. Sometimes, the greatest teaching is not through words, but through presence. Here's something powerful to remember. You never know who you're influencing just by remaining calm. People are watching, your children, your partner, your coworkers, strangers. When they see you stay poised in moments of stress, when they see you choose silence over shouting, when they see you walk away instead of retaliating, they feel it, even if they don't say it. You become a model of balance, of inner control, of grace under pressure, and that ripple effect matters, because while the world may not change overnight, you can be the reflection of the world you want to live in. Stillness is not a gift. Calmness under pressure isn't a talent. Responding instead of reacting is not something you wake up with one day. These are all disciplines, skills that must be trained, honed, and sharpened, just like the body or the mind. And like any training, it requires consistency, repetition, commitment. If you want to act as if nothing bothers you, not out of pretense, but from genuine mastery, you must practice that composure daily. You must return to yourself again and again until calmness becomes not just a state, but your default. The modern world will not hand you stillness. It demands urgency, instant responses, emotional outbursts. It feeds on distraction. Every notification, every argument online, every manufactured crisis. It's all designed to pull you out of your center, which is why training is essential. Training is your way of saying, I will not be moved by everything that moves. It starts small, observing your breath for 2 minutes in silence, noticing your reaction before you speak, pausing before you scroll, stepping outside when you feel overwhelmed. These micro disciplines become the foundation of unshakable inner control. Don't wait for life to test you before you start practicing. That's like waiting for a storm to learn how to swim. Train now, in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the in-between moments. When someone interrupts you, breathe. When traffic builds observe. When you feel the urge to argue, pause. These are opportunities to train. Each moment of discomfort is a dojo, a mental gym, and the more you use them to develop awareness, the stronger your emotional reflexes become. So when real chaos strikes, you won't need to act calm. You will be calm because you've built it. Training also means self-honesty. It means you stop pretending that your triggers are just how you are and begin seeing them as areas for growth. It means journaling after a tough day, not to vent but to reflect. It means sitting in silence, not to escape the world, but to understand yourself. Meditation, breathwork, mindful movement. These are not luxury practices. They're tools for building resilience. Emotional strength isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, patient, and steady. And it comes from the inner work most people are too busy to do, but not you. You train. There will be days when you fall, when you snap, when you forget to pause. That's okay. Training doesn't demand perfection. It requires presence. What matters is that you notice, that you catch the moment, that you learn from it. Growth doesn't come from never falling. It comes from rising faster each time. A disciplined mind doesn't avoid stress. It transforms it. A trained heart doesn't avoid conflict. It navigates it with clarity. So don't be discouraged when you slip. Be grateful that you're aware. That awareness is progress. That's how transformation begins, not with giant leaps, but with consistent steps. Finally, discipline is not about control over others. It's about mastery over yourself. It's not about being emotionally flat, it's about being emotionally free. Free to feel deeply, but not be drowned by those feelings. Free to hear criticism without crumbling. Free to face chaos without losing your center. And that kind of freedom is only possible when you make your training a way of life. When reflection becomes a ritual. When silence becomes sacred. When every day is seen as a classroom. In that space, something incredible happens. You stop performing calmness and start embodying it. So now ask yourself, what if nothing truly had the power to shake you? What if you could walk through life, not untouched, but unbothered? This doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've trained your mind to respond with wisdom, not impulse, to hold your center, not give it away, to choose peace even when chaos knocks at your door. Acting as if nothing bothers you is not a mask, it's a mirror reflecting your inner discipline. It's the result of daily effort, quiet work, conscious breathing, mindful choices. Let others rush, let them react. But you move with intention, you live from your center, and when the world sees that, when they feel your calm, when they witness your grace, they won't say you're pretending. They'll know you've done the work. You've walked through the fire, and now you are the stillness in the storm.